A woman is told that her husband has died in battle. Her childhood friend returns with the news and slowly begins to insert himself into her life. But something is watching from the forest. Before we uncover what is really hiding beyond the trees, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment with the next movie you want me to recap. A young woman named Anne and her mother-in-law Morwen listen to a sermon in a church. When the service ends, they step outside and meet a familiar pregnant woman. Her husband has gone to war, just like Anne's. Morwen hugs her and wishes that their husbands return home as soon as possible. However, it turns out she only used the moment to secretly steal a piece of jewelry from the woman. Anne is surprised by this act, but Morwen replies that they have to survive by any means. When they return home, Anne is happy to see that a small harvest has appeared in the garden, so they will be able to cook something. She gathers the vegetables and makes a soup. The vegetables are still unripe and hard to chew, and Morwen nearly breaks a tooth. Anne then chews the food for her so it will be easier for her to eat. In the morning, Anne wakes up early to collect more of the harvest. She brings the vegetables to Morwen, and the older woman is pleased to have such a helper. Nothing ever grew here before, and now they can sell the vegetables together with the stolen trinket and buy proper food. While Morwen goes to the town, Anne falls asleep and has a disturbing dream in which her husband returns from the war exhausted and asks for help. Soon Morwen comes back from the market with some food, a piece of bread and an onion. Anne is glad, but when she starts cooking, the onion turns out to be spoiled. Morwen gets angry, then quickly calms down and says that God will not let them die of hunger. They only need to wait for Seamus to return from the war. The king will reward him, and their family will live better. One day Anne walks along the shore and hears singing. Near a boat she sees a fisherman and her old friend Jago, who fought alongside her husband and has already returned. She is happy, thinking that Seamus must be somewhere nearby as well, and invites Jago home for a meal. He eats their modest food with great appetite. Morwen asks about her son, and Jago says that the war was a true nightmare. He speaks about harsh orders, exhaustion, and fear. From his words, it becomes clear that he and Seamus wanted to run away, and Morwen realizes they were deserters. Then Jago says that Seamus was killed during an attack by bandits. This news shocks Anne, and Morwen does not know how to live on. Only the next day does the full realization of the loss reach her. Later, a small vessel crashes against the rocks. One man survives and reaches the shore, but Morwen sneaks up behind him and delivers a fatal knife blow. When Anne comes out, she thinks the man died on his own. Morwen says it is a sign from above, a chance to get food and not starve. She goes to the market and trades what she has taken for provisions. One day Anne is working in the garden and sees a strange rider. She gets frightened and runs into the house. Morwen assures her that she imagined it. The next day Anne goes to church and meets Jago on the road. He offers to escort her because the path is dangerous, but she refuses. She cannot forgive him for the news about her husband. Still, Jago walks beside her and accompanies her back. Morwen notices this and asks what is going on between them. Anne explains that he simply followed her, but Morwen calls him a jealous man who has competed with her son all his life. Anne does not understand this hostility because Jago was Seamus's best friend. From then on, Jago often walks Anne home, and she remembers their childhood friendship. However, Morwen begins to convince her that Jago is a dangerous person who brings only misfortune, and that Anne should not leave the house. She frightens her with stories about dark forces that can take a person away if loved ones are left unprotected. The woman plants these thoughts in Anne's mind, so she will not even think about going to another man. One day a priest comes to visit them. He is returning from long wanderings and does not plan to stay in the town for long. Morwen welcomes him warmly and shares their meager food. When she learns that he will soon leave, she attacks him with a knife right in front of Anne. Afterward, Morwen declares that he was a fraud who deceived people for money, and that his belongings will help them survive the winter. She convinces Anne that helping her is the right thing to do. Anne carries the body to a pit together with her. In the evening, Morwen continues to influence the girl, insisting that they are supposedly cleansing the world of bad people and have the right to take their belongings in order to survive, and someday be reunited with Seamus. Anne doubts that she is capable of becoming as ruthless. One day Anne goes outside and hears strange sounds, like a rider approaching. She becomes frightened and meets Jago on the road. The girl thinks it is something supernatural, but Jago calms her and says that no demons exist and that Morwen planted these fears in her so she would not leave. He asks Anne to come to him at night. After returning home, Anne has a disturbing dream in which Morwen is eating bloody meat, but she wakes up and realizes it was only a nightmare. That night, she goes to Jago. They spend time together and grow closer. In the morning, Jago suggests that she live with him, but Anne does not dare to leave Morwen because she worries about her and believes she would not survive alone. When Anne returns, Morwen immediately asks where she has been and again appeals to pity, claiming that she will die without her. She insists that they are the only close people each other has. A few nights later, Anne is already helping Morwen attack a traveling merchant and take his belongings. When they find a child's trinket among his things, Anne begins to doubt even more the rightness of what they are doing. When they go to church again, they encounter the same woman who had previously been pregnant, but now she has a baby. Morwen tries to approach under the pretense of looking at the child in order to steal something, but Anne stops her. When they return home, they see Jago. He wants to take Anne with him, but Morwen comes out to speak with him and refuses to let her go. Jago says that Morwen is depriving Anne of the chance to build her own family. He shouts that he will wait for her and leaves. Morwen again tries to influence Anne, but this time the girl is already angry. Anne decides to go to Jago. They spend time together and seem happy. Meanwhile, Morwen wakes up and sees a warrior in armor walking toward her house. She decides it is a threat and follows him into the forest. There she sees not only the rider, but also Anne with Jago. Sneaking up from behind, Morwen strikes with a knife, then removes the helmet and looks in horror at the face beneath it. Anne, meanwhile, hesitates between a new life and returning to Morwen. Jago grows tired of these doubts and says that Seamus has long been dead. Anne remembers that earlier he told a different version of his death and demands the truth. Jago admits that after the attack by bandits, Seamus changed, became cruel, and attacked an unknown knight. He killed him and put on his helmet, which could not be removed. Seamus begged for help, but Jago, frightened by what he had become, left. Anne returns to Morwen and finds her wearing that same helmet. The woman asks for help because it causes unbearable pain. Anne tries to break it with a cross, but the helmet restores itself. They hide in the house and hear the footsteps of a warrior. Anne opens the door, takes the helmet in her hands, and says that it will not harm her. Later, Anne meets Jago and tells him that she will no longer be with him or under Morwen's control. She wants to live independently. She will help Morwen from time to time, but she will not stay with her. After that, Anne goes into the forest to the place where her husband's belongings lie, takes the helmet in her hands, and the story ends.